Hi, this is Tracy, and welcome to the Woman Within You podcast. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I have a special guest with me. Hi, who are you?
Hi, I'm Jessica.
Hi, Jessica. Welcome to the Woman Within You podcast. So, today is the final part of our three-part series, Confessions of a Teen Mom. And Jessica is a very, very special guest to the podcast today, and I'm super excited that she's here to talk to us. We are going to talk about how to co-parent. Now, we have a very unique situation, and we felt like it was very important to tell our story. So we're going to talk about being single moms and co-parenting. Before we get started, I just want to give some statistics on single moms by race and ethnicity. So 62% of Black moms are single moms. Wow, that's crazy, right? Nice. 62%?
Yeah, sad.
Wow. 42% of Hispanics are single moms, 24% of whites, and 52% of American Indians are single moms. What do you think about that?
It's sad. It really is sad, and it just goes to show how our world is changing, and, you know, people's values aren't really much the same anymore.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's like the idea of family, although I feel like the media paints a certain picture of how a family is supposed to look. And I feel like even though these statistics are very high for Black women, there's also a very high statistic of Black women that aren't single moms, but they don't ever show that side of the coin too.
Absolutely.
But you're right. Family values have changed over the years. And I don't know what to say about that. I don't know. How do we fix that? Do you have any solutions?
Talking to our kids more about sex and how things change once you do adult things, and how you have to be very careful of who you involve yourself with, because it might seem like roses, you know, but in the end, when things go wrong, you end up falling into that statistic of being a single parent.
That is so true. So true. So I mentioned to you all that Jessica was a very special guest. Let me kind of explain why she's so special to me. Jessica and I have a child, and she has a child, and I have a child by the same guy. I love Jessica. Like, I love her.
Love you too.
This is going to be difficult for us to have this conversation, but it's definitely necessary, because I feel like we need to do what's in the best interest of our children at all times, because they didn't ask to come into this world, and they are definitely blessings to us in every way, shape, or form, whether it worked out with a guy or not. But I just feel like it's important as possible. You can actually be friends. Like, she's a friend of mine.
Absolutely.
Plus, we're going out after this to go eat.
Yeah.
So, we both have sons by the same guy, and my son was born in August, and her son was born in
September, a month apart.
They are a month apart. I knew nothing of Jessica and or her son.
Same here.
Just a month apart. I think it was a month to the day almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost. Yep.
It happens. I think we were both in a weird place at that time. And once I did find out about Jessica and her son, whatever relationship or whatever the situation was, ended. And that was the end of it. Jessica, do you have any comment on that?
Oh, wow. Well, should I talk about how I learned that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I recall one day visiting my son's family on his dad's side, and I was sitting in his aunt's room, and I saw a picture of your son. And I saw the name on it, and I was like, well, who is this? I said, who else had a baby in the family? And the aunt was like, you don't know who that is? And I said, no. And she was like, are you sure? I said, no. I was like, who is it? Because I've met everyone in the family. Yep. Brother from Colorado was visiting. Yep. So I was a little confused. And she was like, uh-oh. And I said, uh-oh, what? And she says, you might want to go upstairs and talk to my brother. And I said, your brother, who? Like, who are we talking about? And she was like, I don't want to get in the middle of it. Go upstairs and talk to my brother. So I took the picture off the mirror. I went upstairs and I said, who is this? And he was like, oh, that's so-and-so. I said, okay, and who is so-and-so to you? Because I'm being told to ask. And he goes, oh, that's my godson. I said,
Wow.
godson? With your last name? Oh, the mom just asked if she could use my last name. I said, something don't seem right about this situation. So I'm going to take my son and go. And when you're ready to explain to me who this is, I'm ready to listen. And I left. But I was upset because I already knew by me being told by the aunt to go and ask.
Okay.
There was something that I missed.
Okay.
I wasn't aware of. And
yeah, so that's wow. That's very difficult. So I'll tell you how I found out. I actually found out you were expecting from a neighbor of the family. And I didn't have any feelings about it. I just wanted to know the truth because there was just so many lies. And I think that sometimes us as women, we tend to believe the guy over the girl. And we probably shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
But it was a situation that was ugly, probably on both sides.
Yeah.
And it was difficult to navigate, especially because guess what? I was young. And so were you. You were young. I know you're a little older than me, but we were both very, very young. And I feel like we were both manipulated into thinking something that wasn't the truth.
Right.
So I feel like once the kids were here and we were living our respective lives, I feel like at that time I didn't know how to feel, right? So I think my son would go over to the family's house and maybe your son was there, and it was always like a comparison of the two and who looks like who, and who's doing this, who's walking, who's not walking, who's crawling. It was always just a weird comparison, and that was very difficult for me.
And see, I didn't even know that. So this is something new I'm learning today. I did know that there was a situation about looks one day, and the kids were made to apologize to me because there are other children as well. Because we didn't mention that. And I was shocked, but I didn't feel any kind of way because children are children.
Absolutely.
And they only do what they see from parents.
Right.
So you can't really get too mad at kids for that. And I just swept it under the rug. But, that's unfortunate.
Difficult.
Yeah.
So Jessica, let me ask you, what happened after you found out about my son?
I was heartbroken because here it is, a new parent, and I wanted things to go differently in my life. I've never wanted to be a single parent. I was working 2 jobs. I was in college, and he actually proposed.
Oh,
so
congratulations! Did that marriage happen?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, thank
God. We'll get to that in a minute.
Right. So it became a point where I had to accept what was, or I felt like I needed to accept what was, because the idea of being a single parent bothered me. I never saw myself in that light at all. I always wanted to have my career, then be married, then have my family, and things didn't go the way I wanted to. So I was already sad about that, but I felt like I needed to make this situation work. Here it is. There's a kid here. We have to deal with it at this point, meaning the matter, and I wasn't going to not act like there wasn't another child involved. So I began to develop a relationship with your son.
By the way, listeners, I knew nothing of the sort. I know now, of course, years later, I know because our kids are, way grown up at this point. I know now that she started to develop a relationship with my son. I had no knowledge of her. I had never met her. I had never seen her. I've never had a conversation with her. I think we have like a common aunt or something like that, or a common family member, but I don't remember, ever meeting her or anything like that. And because, the state we live in, Connecticut, is pretty small, especially the specific area that we live in is really small. So you began to develop a relationship with my son because my son would visit the family, and I'm assuming you were there.
Right.
So let's talk about your relationship with the dad. Was my son ever the cause of a breakup or anything that?
Absolutely not. He was the cause of our first fight when I found out about him, but he was never the cause of a breakup. He was a cause of me cussing our mutual kid's father out because I felt like he didn't want to deal with the situation once the truth came out.
Okay.
And so our fight was about me just simply not feeling that both the boys were being treated the same. And as a mom, I was very uncomfortable with that situation, to the point where, again, I started taking them together and making sure that they had that bond that they needed to have because they were related, whether I cared for the situation or not.
Okay.
And that's when, as time gone, that the boys were your son was at my son's birthday parties. Well, you didn't know.
No, I didn't know. I had no idea. I had no idea.
As time went on, the kids grew up. I always made sure that your son was included in anything fun because I love kids.
Yes.
Just in general. So if I can find anything to do, whether it was a Chuck E. Cheese, at one point they went apple picking together, all my son's birthday parties, because every year from 1 to like 10, he had a party, which was a little bit ridiculous, but
that's okay.
Your son was there. And I had a bunch of pictures that I remember one day, a mutual friend, we had, you wanted to talk.
Yeah.
And I sent you a bunch of pictures that you had no idea that I had.
So I want to talk about how you and I met. Okay, so we had a mutual friend, and this mutual friend was going to start a business and invited both myself and Jessica to a meeting. And I didn't know who Jessica was. I knew her name, but I didn't know who she was. I think I had made one attempt to contact you on Facebook through another mutual friend that we had, and it was unsuccessful. I don't remember the circumstances, but I think I had made one attempt to contact you because I had saw some pictures of our sons, and I wanted to just have a conversation. So anyway, so let's fast forward to 2012. That's when I met you. So in 2012, I met Jessica by accident because we were both going to be part of this particular business. And Jessica actually showed up at my house unbeknownst to her. And we talked. I remember we had our business meeting and we talked. I welcomed her with open arms. I'm not that type of person. And I think she had a perception of me that I was going to be, I don't know, ignorant. I don't know.
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
I just feel like we didn't know each other.
We didn't know
what to expect from one another.
Right. So I remember that day like it was yesterday. I remember us crying, and I remember my mom being there, and I remember us having a conversation, and it was much needed. And I think from that day, it's like we kind of formed a bond. Number one, we had a bond because we have these children, these boys that are siblings, but we had a bond because we had similar stories. And we had a bond because we just really connected. It was just like a connection. Like she was literally going to be my BFF. Like it wasn't anything I expected it to be. And she had stories about me, and I had stories about her, and none of it was true.
Nope. Nope.
Nothing. Neither of us knew anything about the other. I feel like sometimes men, let's keep it real, like to pit the women against each other for their own benefit.
Right.
I had moved on many years ago, and, had you moved on at that point?
From him? Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So at what point did you move on?
I can't even really remember.
Okay.
Oh my God, there was a situation where I got pregnant again.
Oh.
And it was in my tube.
Okay.
And I didn't know it was in my tube. I just knew I was pregnant, and I said, no, Lord.
Okay, so for anyone that needs a frame of reference, when she said that she had a tubal pregnancy, she's talking about an ectopic pregnancy. So that's a pregnancy that didn't go to the right place, and it was not going to be viable.
Right, and I almost died. And that situation was God trying to shake me because, again, here I am trying to repair somebody I know is damaged, because women have a bad habit of thinking that they can change people. We know we really can't, but for the sake of my kid and not being a single parent, I tried. I definitely tried to make him be a better person. And I tried to keep our family together, but it wasn't working. And after that situation and the response I got from you need to go to the hospital with me, because at that point there was another young lady pregnant that didn't even know was his child because he was saying that it wasn't his kid. So thank God that that situation happened the way that it did, even though it was a tragic situation, because I couldn't imagine having 2 children right now without their dad being around.
Okay.
So
I understand that. So I personally do not have a relationship with him at all. How's your relationship now? Is it better? Is it worse? Is he more stepped up?
No, absolutely not. There is no relationship.
Okay.
He has not contacted my son in 10 years, maybe a little bit longer. And I'm okay with that. Because there is a certain point you have to realize that your child's safety is more important. Them growing up healthy mindsets is also important. And I would rather you do nothing than be around and just taint my child.
Absolutely. I almost feel like sometimes it's better to keep toxicity out of your children's lives so that they can grow up healthy. Now, there's a whole bunch of talk. There's always statistics regarding, single moms, especially single moms with sons, that they grow up to be, a life of crime or drugs or be single dad or be, not be as responsible as their dad. Can you tell me something about your son? Like, he's a good kid, right?
Oh God, absolutely. My son makes honor roll. He is in sports, very active. The sweetest kid you can possibly meet.
Absolutely.
He's always willing to help. There's many letters I get from his teachers or phone calls saying, your son is a very good kid. He's always helpful. He was in bands. He, did Boy Scouts, whatever I could keep him in, and surrounded by as many other men, just to be able to see and have that connection growing up.
Absolutely.
With positive examples, I did it. Whatever it cost me, I found a way to do it.
Now, I want to touch on financial support because you just said whatever it cost me. I personally have not received any financial support from the absent parent since birth, so about 16 years. What about you? Do you receive any financial support?
Absolutely not. I wish that would be the day. The most money I've ever received for my son was $50 for his first birthday cake. That's it. So it's been on me.
So you are truly a single mother.
Absolutely.
And many of you listeners know that I'm currently married, and my husband actually stepped in to the role of a father because of the absent father not being in his life. So I'm lucky enough. However, I was a single mom for many years prior to me meeting my husband. So I definitely can attest to everything that Jessica is saying regarding it being all on her. But I want to commend you, Jessica, and I want to commend you for the following reasons. Number one, because I know that you're an incredible mother.
Thank you.
Okay. Jessica is degreed up.
Had to.
Okay. She's an awesome mother. She's very involved in her son's life. She's very involved in our life. We decided that we were going to be co-parents in the sense that we're going to make sure that we stay connected, make sure our children stay connected, make sure they get invited to birthday parties, make sure that they see each other, make sure that they just have a bond, because it's very important. And even though they may not have a relationship with their dad, they have mentors and they have other people. Maybe you have family that steps in and is that either father figure or mentor figure for your son. And I just feel like that's very, very important.
It is. It definitely is, especially when you're dealing with boys, because you see these streets out here are rough on our young men, our young black men especially. So we have to make sure we do what we need to do to just keep them uplifted. Church is very important.
Absolutely.
Praying over your kid's life. Generational curses are real.
Absolutely.
So I think it's very important that we just be the best parent we possibly can be for our children.
Absolutely. I could not have said that any better. So Jessica, how's your dating life because you're a single mom?
You know what? I won't say that me being a single parent hinders me from dating, because anybody that gets themselves involved with me knows that I'm a package deal. Mm-hmm. And if you can't handle me having a child, then I might not be the best person for you. I had a relationship with someone for over 10 years.
Okay.
And we didn't work out for our own personal reasons, but he is very involved with my son.
That's wonderful.
Since he was a baby. Taught him how to use the toilet, took care of him when he was sick, down to now, my son can call and ask for anything, and he's there, and I respect that man for that, because he doesn't have to play the role that he does play, but, you know, he does it.
He wants to.
Right.
He wants to,
right.
He cares.
And, you know, we're cordial with each other, and there's no better feeling than knowing that there's still someone there to support your child, you know, who needs it. And I also have friends that I've gone to high school with that'll come pick up my son, because I've always told my son, I know that I'm not a man. I can't teach you how to be a man.
Absolutely.
But you have these people in your life for a reason. Utilize those resources I gave you, because these are all safe people. You know, so
that is that's so essential. Just having those resources available to you.
Right.
Now, you're going to be an empty nester soon when your son goes off to college. How you feeling about that? Listen,
I'm not feeling upset. They grew up too fast.
They were just babies on a rug, and now they are looking at college. That's amazing, right?
It is.
It's a good feeling.
It is a great feeling, but you know, at least you got another one. I'm gonna be by myself.
Well, wait a minute. Well, this could be the year of the second child.
Maybe. We'll see. We got to get it together in the dating game. But we'll
Oh, can I ask you a quick question about the dating? Did your ex have any issues with you dating after you broke up or anything like that?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, absolutely not. And he went on to have a child, his first kid, with someone. There's no bad blood at all. The family loves him too. So
I got you.
He's with the nieces, the nephews, his mom calls me sometime to check on my son. So it was a great relationship.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Well, the next one will be better, honey. Let me see that ring finger.
Let's pray on it, guys.
Let's have a prayer, right? So I just thank God that Jessica is in my life. I thank God for her honesty today and talking to me about this situation. This has been a long time coming, in the sense that we've talked about going public, so to speak, with our story in some way, shape, or form, whether it was in print in a book, or I felt like this was the perfect platform. I know that there are other women out there that need to hear this. They need to co-parent. It doesn't matter if it worked out with a guy. What matters is the kids.
Absolutely. That's all that's ever mattered to me, is these kids knowing each other and having a bond. Because last thing I ever wanted is our kids to not know who each other is. They meet in the street and they end up fighting. For what? You fighting your brother, or you coming home bringing your sister to date. That's Right. We gotta know who our kids are. Absolutely. And look after them. Absolutely. You not knowing me, I think that was a blessing in disguise.
Absolutely.
Because you had no idea I was looking after your son.
No.
And advocating for him when I felt that I needed to.
Right. I thank you. I thank you for that. I didn't know anything about anything that was going on. I didn't know he was attending parties. I didn't know any of that. I just thought it was just a weekend visit. And then, of course, those visits stopped pretty abruptly. But in any event, our kids are thriving. They're healthy. They're both honor and high honor students. They're both in sports. They're both headed to college with, dreams, goals, and ambition. And I am just super excited for what's on the horizon for them and what's on the horizon for us.
Beautiful kids.
Beautiful children.
Beautiful.
And, lady, sister, honey, girl. Okay? Pack up that kitty and wait for Mr. Right.
Yeah. I need to.
All right, so Jessica, so every week I do a weekly affirmation that I also put on my website, thewomanwithinyou.com, and I would love if you could repeat a affirmation with me today.
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to repeat together this affirmation. Once again, I'll put it on the website so you can repeat it daily as well. Okay? All right. Ready?
Yep.
I will see the beauty and blessings in life as I see everything and everyone as a gift. Perfect, right?
Yes.
Because you're definitely a gift and a blessing to our lives.
Thank you, as you guys are to me.
So I thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, you are strong, you are fearless, and most of all, you are beautiful. We'll catch you next week. Bye.